Good morning everyone, I hope we're well and I hope we've enjoyed our learning so far this week. So let's have a look at what we've got for today, Friday. So we're going to carry on with our reading. And again we're going to be looking at our rainforest text that we had from yesterday, but this time we'll have a different extract that we're going to focus on. So still carrying on with our mixed vipers for today. And we've got Friday's extract here, so the diary entry from the 5th of August. Again, if you've not read the text first, read it first and then maybe go through and answer the questions. But if not, just pause the video and make sure you've read through before we start to answer this question at the bottom. So the question is, why do you think the diarist wrote the word bliss as a one-word sentence? So again, what we'll do is find that, and first of all we need to understand what she's writing that about. So the best thing to do is either probably go forwards or backwards. Probably backwards is the best way to go with this. And she's talking about the air conditioning before she says that word. So if we think about what it was like, if you look at the very top, it says it's 30 degrees Celsius, which is very hot, and she's managed, I think, to get into some air conditioning in the vehicle. So what she's meaning by bliss is that it's to emphasize the point that the air conditioning was so lovely after spending so long in the hot and humid temperatures. So that just implies that she's really enjoying it now, she's more comfortable, and again the one word sentence gives that emphasis for the reader. It tells us how much she was struggling with the heat because of how welcoming the air conditioning in the vehicle was. Okay, so let's have another look at a different type of question with the same part of the text. So this question is, do you think the diarist plans to go back to the Amazon rainforest again? So if we were to pick out this phrase here, that might give us some indication of whether or not she's going to return. And that once in a lifetime experience implies that she's probably not going to return again to the Amazon rainforest. It doesn't mean she doesn't want to, but it means that she's unlikely to be able to. So this is how I would answer this one. I don't think that the diarist has any plans to return to the Amazon rainforest because the phrase a once in a lifetime experience implies she will only visit once. However, I'm sure she would like to return if she was able to, as she enjoyed it. So again, we're just clarifying the fact that it's not about the fact she doesn't want to return, it's the fact that she's probably not able to. It's obviously quite expensive and a long journey to get there. So that would be my answer to that question. Okay, so on to our maths then. And again, we're continuing our theme of angles. This time though, today, we're going to be looking at missing angles around a point. So it's a very similar technique to when we've looked at missing angles on a straight line, but this time it's going to be around a point. So we need some new information today to be able to answer these questions. So we have to look at the angles around a point, and we need a little bit of information before we can go ahead and answer these. So the question is, what do the angles around a point add up to? So if we look at the picture below to just give us some idea, and if you pause the video there and have a look at what the rider is doing. Okay, so in the video you can see that he's obviously jumping and obviously going forwards, and then he does a spin in the air, and then as he lands he's still travelling forwards. So have a think about what degrees that would be if he did one full turn. So hopefully you've worked out that the rider there, if he spins one full turn, he spins 360 degrees. But let's just prove it with a diagram like we did for the angles on a straight line. So you can see my point there with my horizontal and a vertical line. This is going to help us prove it. And we've got one right angle at 90 degrees, another right angle, a third right angle, and then a fourth right angle. So if you were to go all the way around that point, you'd be travelling just like a clock, all the way around from 12 o'clock all the way back up to 12 o'clock. And you would have travelled 360 degrees, one full rotation. So when we're answering questions today, you will need to know that the angles around a whole point add up to 360. So very much like angles on a straight line, you needed that information of 180 degrees. You just need that 360 degrees. Now you can see as well, if you may have noticed that it's basically two straight line diagrams joined together, which obviously if you add 180 degrees up to 180 degrees, you get 360. So let's have a think about how we might solve some missing angle problems. So you can see we've got the diagram there. It says find the value of x, and again you can see all the way around the point you've got two known angles. So just as we did yesterday with the angles on the straight line where we had two known angles, the first thing to do is add up those known angles. So if we add 160 to 105 degrees, we get 265 degrees. Now to find x, we want to know what's left over. So to find what's left over, we need to take 360, which is the full amount around the point, and take 265 degrees off. And we end up with x equaling 95 degrees. Okay, so if you pause the video and have a go at this one, this time you've got four known angles. Okay, so let's start to think about how we might solve this. So we need to add up, again, as we did before, all our known angles. So we've got, if we start from this side, we've got 78, 90, 75 degrees and 63. And what's left is x. So let's add all those known angles up together. And we get 306 degrees. Okay, and so apart from x, all the other angles add up to 306 degrees. So now we just need to take 360 and take away what the angles that we know, which is 306, and we should be left with x being 54 degrees. Again, look out for those battles on Times Table Rockstars. And on to our writing then for today. And we're going to be continuing with our news reports that we started yesterday. So just to recap what we discussed yesterday, make sure when you're reading before you start today, read what you've wrote from yesterday's work and just think about whether or not it sounds like a news report. And there's just my example again. If you are doing the shark attack or the shark text, this might help you get started. So just my example there again. If you want to pause the video, you can have a look at that. So don't forget, guys, make sure you're checking your work through. Check for obviously any punctuation errors, but do think about any vocabulary change that you could make. Could you include a more formal sentence or a journalistic phrase that might make it sound a little bit more like a news report and therefore fit the purpose a little bit better? So I look forward to reading those, guys. Don't forget to send them me once they're done.